Welcome back to Fast Market on the Schwab Network. Kevin Hinks and Nathan Peterson back for our cash tag segment. Now I'd like to bring in the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, Mr. Landon Swan, to the show. He's going to give us a comprehensive LikeFolio style look at the airline sector. Landon, what do you got for us? Because these charts, they don't look so good.
Yeah, I tell you what, they don't. If you look at the big four, I mean, they're all down between like 28 and 33% from their July highs, and it's not a real shaky down. I mean, it is just straight down. I mean, it is really ugly charts. So you might think they're on sale, you might not. I don't know. You know, we can argue about that. But when we look at what's going on in the airlines, if a few months ago or maybe 6 months ago, it was all about Southwest and how they screwed up the holiday season. They had cancellations and delays, and they really opened the door for other airlines to take over and take their spot as one of the top two, right? It's always been Delta and Southwest. Well, now it's Delta's turn. They had a little bit of a flub with their rewards program. They made a change that kind of outraged everyone, and social media was, everyone was in an uproar and complaining. And now they've come out and said that they're backtracking. They think they're going to undo many of those changes. And so we'll see how they handle it, but it's kind of opened the door a little bit for some of these others, for American and United. And I'll tell you, among all of them, United actually looks to be the one that's sort of taking advantage the most. So it's no longer a world of Delta is business and dominant there, and Southwest is dominant in personal travel. So now you've got these other four, and you can see the change in website visits over the last little bit, year-over-year change on the 90-day moving average. United is up 21%. Delta is getting a lot of visits. I'm not entirely sure how much of these are people looking for flights versus wanting information on the rewards program. But then, you see Southwest, again, still has not really picked up since that flub back in the holidays. So we're seeing United make a pretty big comeback here. Now, it is interesting to know that among these four, United has the lowest happiness, but they're all pretty close. I mean, the range is from 48% to 54%. So they're all right there. But it used to be Southwest and Delta had the top two spots, and not the case anymore. So Southwest has dropped tremendously on that regard. So it's concerning to see the top spots, make mistakes. I think that Southwest wasn't just a decision. Theirs was a long time coming. I mean, the buildup for that was just a technological decision after decision over decades. Delta actually made this decision, and you can see the backlash. I mean, it was a very, very high number of mentions, off the charts, 2 or 3 times normal mention volume the day that happened and following the weeks that followed. And they've since retracted that. But with everything going the way it is with these stock prices, Delta on their last earnings report, they said that they had record revenue, record earnings, but now they're making adjustments because they're seeing costs are going up. Fuel and maintenance costs in particular are rising. Of course, that's cutting into the bottom line a little bit. But, I do think that they're getting to the point where they might be just a little bit oversold. But we can no longer, in my mind, a year ago, it was Delta and Southwest are the safe bets. They're the top two. They've got it going on. They know exactly what they're doing. They've got their niche. It's no longer the case anymore. It's kind of open for everyone to vie for those top two spots or the top one spot among the top four airlines. So, I'm really interested to see how this data plays out over the next 6 months or year. But right now, I think the story is that Southwest gave up a big advantage that it had because of cancellations and problems. And now Delta is, I don't think it's nearly as big. I think that this problem could go away if they handle it well on the rewards program, but they've kind of opened the door a little bit as well. And from what I'm seeing in the data, United is the one most eager or most capable of stepping in.
Yeah, Landon, I was wondering about that along those lines. When you see a corporation, maybe not even just an airline, so one of these big snafus, I don't want to say like a new Coke moment, but when you come out with a really big hit like this that impacts the consumers, and, it seems like that the demand, I don't know if the demand is elastic or inelastic, because if you have credit cards with Delta and they make an announcement like that and then they said they're going to retract it, maybe you just wait around to see what they do. If it's something like Southwest, maybe all those cancellations might leave, such a bad taste in your mouth. You say, I'm never flying Southwest again. Do we have a sense of like how long some of these hits can typically hit a corporation like this in terms of attrition, or not getting any of those customers back, or is in terms of that a duration? Do we have a sense of what this might do for Delta specifically?
Yeah, so I tell you what, we've seen a lot of these cases in the past. A couple that come to mind. One with Facebook and the privacy concerns that ended up being mostly a flash in the pan. People, were shocked and outraged for a few days, and then it kind of went away. Another one was with Snapchat's user interface change. I think that was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. That one was permanent, and it was crippling. I mean, it really hurt the company. Happiness declined, and user engagement declined instantly. So I think it really depends on the type of crisis, if you will. Southwest isn't continuing to have flight cancellations, but just like you said, I mean, if you missed out on Christmas because of Southwest, you're going to remember that for years to come. And I can guarantee you're not booking them. So when it comes to Delta, my take is that this could be a flash in the pan. This could just be people saying, being very outraged that they pay whatever $500 a year for the purple card, and they can't get into the sky clubs now. But if they're walking it back and they're making that change, then just as you said, yeah, they may have gone to United to fill out a credit card application or another website, but their patterns are their patterns. They've got all their recurring billing on one credit card. And if Delta makes amends and says, whoops, our bad, which it looks like they're going to, then I think that this could just be a flash in the pan. So we're watching it very closely. But the fact that they did come out and sort of indicate that they may reverse this gives me confidence that this is not likely to be a very long-term punishing consumer trend for them.
Landon, my history with things like this is that it seems like each of these companies, or companies in a competitive environment like this, they each get a spin on the wheel where they're the unpopular one in the room. And good God knows Southwest Airlines had a major fall from grace over last Christmas. But United's had their issues. Remember with things in the overhead carry? Everyone's had their little problems along the way. But if Southwest keeps putting out low fares and their planes are safe, which they are, eventually they're going to win those people back. Am I wrong there? As long as you're not falling out of the sky, which they're not, bad news comes and then it goes, Landon.
It does, but that one was several days of a lot of people missing flights.
That was a big one.
It was like 70% of flights were canceled with Southwest, and they all had problems, right? All the airlines had problems because the weather was across the country, but Southwest technology was so outdated that they were using the telephone to try to figure things out. I wouldn't be surprised if it was pencil and paper, like trying to work out the problems, whereas all the others, they have to have delays and cancellations because the plane's supposed to be in New York and it's still in Minneapolis. Like, it just didn't work because of the weather, but Southwest just couldn't figure it out. So, we read stories about how they knew that was coming for many years. And it was just eventually when it was going to happen. So I think that eventually Southwest gets those customers back. I agree. But I don't think it's, I don't think it's now. I think it has to go at least a holiday season. People have to go all the way through that experience again and hear that Southwest didn't screw it up. We have to go through a successful winter, and then maybe people will start to forget a little bit and they'll start jumping on those low fares, and we'll see there. But I do think that Southwest's problem is much larger than Delta's, even though Delta got a lot of outrage and they kind of made the decision to make the mistake, whereas Southwest didn't. But I think Delta's is more of a flash in the pan and definitely more recoverable time frame wise than Southwest's.
Yeah, when you're using terms like horse and buggy and primitive when it comes to airlines, probably not a good look for those airlines. Landon Swan, thank you so much for coming on. As always, the data that LikeFolio gives does such a great service for this show. Have a great day, Landon.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
All right. Now, Nathan, when we look at these companies and